For the first time, we've been told the flow of oil gushing from the well has slowed thanks to that containment dome. Yet, on the surface, oil is now washing ashore in 4 Gulf states, including Florida, as more than 20,000 workers scramble to keep pace with the spreading slick. Joining me this morning, the man leading the massive federal response, Coast Guard Admiral Thad Allen. Admiral, thanks for joining us.
Morning, Jake.
So, what's the latest on the containment dome? How much oil is it containing?
In the last 24 hours, from midnight last night to midnight just this last night, they collected just about 10,000 barrels.
Okay, and the CEO of BP, Anthony Hayward, has said he anticipates it will be able to contain a majority of the oil. Do you agree?
That's correct if it's operating properly. What they're trying to do is take the pressure in the wellbore and actually produce oil to take the pressure off and to evacuate the oil. We're not going to know how much oil is coming out till we're able to optimize the production, and that's what they're doing right now. They're slowly raising production. It was 6,000 the day before, and it was 10,000 yesterday.
We've heard a lot of talk about, in 1993, the Saudis had an oil spill, and they used these huge tankers to vacuum up the oil. How come that isn't being done with this spill?
We've actually talked to those folks. There are a couple of issues with that. Number one, the tankers actually have to be modified. They're not ready to go right now. Number two, we don't know what those modifications will do to the stability of the vessels and how they operate. And number three, the area of operation is very, very different. We've got anywhere from 20 to 30 vessels within a 1 square mile over the top of that well at any particular time, managing remotely operated vehicles, doing the drilling, the relief wells, and so forth. So I'm not sure it's the right application for that technology.
I just got back from Grand Isle, Louisiana. When I was down there, I was told about a huge oil slick headed towards the coast. I was told it was 4 miles wide, 30 miles long, maybe 4 to 12 inches thick. What can you tell us about that?
Well, what we're trying to do is fight this thing offshore, and this is a war. It's an insidious war because it's attacking 4 states at one time, and it comes from different directions depending on the weather. Offshore skimmers are the way to handle it because we can do in-situ burning above the well, but once it gets close to shore, it's got to be mechanical skimming and getting it as far offshore as we can.
Is there a big oil slick that size coming the way?
There are a number of slicks. One of the problems with this entire spill is it's not a monolithic huge spill. Depending on when the oil came to the surface and the wind and the current, it's disaggregated itself into hundreds, maybe thousands of smaller pieces of oil, so we're trying to fight it in a lot of different fronts.
What about these enormous underwater plumes we keep hearing about?
Well, there's been some reporting from some of the local university research vessels of higher density clouds below the surface. Done a lot of work with Jane Lepchenko on this, and NOAA's taken the lead. They dispatch research vessels to start taking samples of the percentage of hydrocarbons in the water column at various depths. They're putting together a massive model of what the Gulf looks like, and that is in progress right now.
BP has constantly downplayed the severity of the leak. They've denied the existence of the underwater plumes. They've refused to release underwater video. They've downplayed the risks of various efforts to contain the leak. You and the federal government have relied and continue to rely on their information. In retrospect, have you been too trusting of BP?
I'm not sure it's a matter of trust, and I hear that word a lot. We have to work in parallel in a cooperative manner to get this thing done because they own the means of access.
But are they always honest with you?
When I ask them for something, I get it.
But including correct information?
Correct.
Okay. If you have all the resources you need, as you've said, why is there still massive amounts of oil coming onto the shore and coming into the marshes?
The reason is this spill is disaggregated over a 200-mile radius around the wellbore where it's leaking right now, and it's not a monolithic spill. It is literally hundreds and thousands of smaller spills, and they could be anywhere from 20 to 100 yards to several miles in length. And we are conducting surveillance. What we're going to have to do is not only be prepared to deal with the oil on shore, we're going to have to push it out to 50 miles offshore and basically have skimming capability that runs from southern Louisiana to Port St. Joe, Florida. And we're in the process of putting those things in place right now. We can't wait for it to get close to shore. We've got to skim it further out.
But do you have all that you need in order to keep this oil from hitting the shore?
Well, what we're doing right now, we're bringing all the skimming equipment in the United States that's not being used for anything else and bringing it to bear down there. And frankly, the further this gets disaggregated from west to east, it's going to create a continual demand. So there will always be an unmet demand for skimming capability, in my view.
Lastly, I saw firsthand when I was down in Louisiana over the weekend, all the workers there, whether they work for the government or for BP or for private contractors who work for BP, they've all been told not to talk to the press, not to talk to the public about their work. Shouldn't they be allowed to share with the public the work they're doing?
I have put out a written directive, and I can provide it for the record, that says the media will have uninhibited access anywhere we're doing operations, except for 2 things: if it's a security or a safety problem. That is my policy. I'm the National Incident Commander.
All right, well, I can tell you firsthand, people are not following that.
Be glad to take the information, and you tell me where it's at, we'll get the word to them.
All right, Admiral Allen, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah.